Good evening, everybody. I have to apologize yet again for another late start. This one was just because I was helping. I've got my research assignment for the oncoming academic year, but some of that work needs to be done during the summer. So I went for a meeting. Unfortunately, transit was disagreeable this afternoon, and so I was late for the meeting, rescheduled, and then just as I kind of normally do, I wound up talking a little bit longer than I should have, and so that means that the meeting went late, and then transit was disagreeable yet again on the way out. So that translated to me, like to give you an idea, probably spent about 3 hours commuting, and kind of unavoidable. So means a later cast tonight, which will probably mean a shorter cast tonight, though every time I say that I seem to wind up kind of broadcasting the same amount of time. But I did want to make sure that I actually did today, basically because I'm just going to try a couple of new things, or at least go back to some old things. We are going to do a little bit of Dota 2. Now, as I'm sure most of you will recall, my bandwidth doesn't permit me to do any live games on the while I'm broadcasting, but I did have a few rounds with one of my co-casters. He's actually playing right now. You'll see here, Peasant, who is currently level 6 as Phantom Lancer. And the nice thing about him, I think he's rated about 5.4k. Well, you know what? We can look it up. Sorry, 4.2, not 5.2. Gave him an extra 1,000. But basically, he is pretty much by any measure a better player than me. I do not have my MMR rating yet. The main reason for that is I feel that there's a lot of work that I can do to improve my Dota 2 game. And one of the things that happens when you play Dota 2 ranked is you kind of get seeded at a certain skill level, and that's based on 10 calibration games. And there's often a lot of complaints about kind of the attitudes at lower MMRs, and there's this concept which I think is complete nonsense, but it exists anyway, known as the trench. So apparently there's some magic MMR that, no matter how hard you try, no matter how good you are, you can't raise out of it. And I mean, everybody knows what motivates a story like that, right? It's people who don't want to accept that there are improvements that they can make in their play. And I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Like every time I've heard it, apparently you always wind up disappointed when you see what your MMR rating is after those calibration games. But I figured what I could probably do is save myself a lot of frustration going from the climb from a lower MMR to a higher MMR if I just sort of dealt with the low-hanging fruit, if I just got my knowledge of the game down to a level where I was maybe a little bit more comfortable, and then decided to do my ranked games, rather than just kind of jumping in as soon as it was available, and then sort of having my learning outpace my skill level. Naturally, that should rise. In the end, it's a weighing machine, right? If you are really better than your peers, then over time that's going to reflect with a consistent rise in MMR. But with that in mind, I figure I can save myself a couple of frustrations to not do it. But in any case, I will say that Nick certainly is a better player than me by any measure. And so as a result, some of these games can actually be pretty instructive in terms of just dealing with players who are, as a whole, more likely to be a higher MMR than me. One thing that you can notice when you are playing games, when you're setting these things up, you don't see it right now, but it'll let you know sort of the MMR of the top player on each team. Now, it's as far as the party matchmaking, I believe his party rating is higher. I forgot to check that. I'll probably drop some frames while it loads. Yeah, 5697. So, sorry, 4697, not 56. I keep giving him an extra 1,000 for some reason. But on this game, the highest ranked player on the other side was, I'd say, significantly lower than that. I think they were probably around like 44 or something like that. So what that means is the averages were quite similar. So what this means is that generally these guys are closer to a certain skill level. So we've got at least one player on our side who's going to outdo the others. But as far as my individual skill is concerned, it's very likely that these other guys are going to be better than us. And so the question is, does, one really good player significantly outweigh the collected group? Or I guess the other way around is like, are, the lower MMR people on this side going to pick up? So in this case, these two people I know, this is Peasant and his girlfriend, this is me. And then these two people here would be on the rival team. And I think I've done enough setup now that I'll just jump straight into this replay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to explain. I always like doing a little bit of an explanation for the game because I think this is an instructive game where, I did the setup for Dota 2 some time back. I think this will be a good opportunity to sort of look at how the game works. I won't pause too much, but I will pause at certain moments to sort of talk about what's going on. And just give you a little bit of an example of how the game works when you're not playing against bots, because playing against bots is definitely a very different experience. So all of us are real people at a better skill level than me, usually. There's some questionable plays that the enemy team makes, but I'm going to entertain, given the averages and the skill distribution, that the majority, if not the entire enemy team, was a higher rank. Hope everybody's doing well tonight, by the way. I know chat's a little quiet, but that's my fault for not being here on time. I also noticed, I think Andrew Arcade is doing Dota 2 bot matches, so he's probably a better cast. Well, no, there's no probably about that. He's a better caster than me, so. While we're setting up the match, I'll talk a little bit about what I've got equipped. So the music you're hearing in the background is the Deadmau5 Dieback music pack. And then the announcer pack that I'll have is the Stanley Parable. So this is kind of funny. Meepo has a reputation for being a very hard hero to play. So you see him switch just because the guy randomed him and he was absolutely not having any of it. So he picked Pudge. Now, I believe Death Prophet can actually be played somewhere other than the mid lane, but traditionally she's played in the mid lane, and as a result, you've got two players here who've picked what are traditionally mid heroes, and this guy here has a name, Mid, or I AFK in jungle. And this could theoretically indicate some conflict on the enemy team, although it seems like they more or less worked that out for themselves. I don't think this Pudge was particularly good, if I'm honest. I know that's a little unkind, but that's the way it is. I should also note, because this is a ranked match, you do not pick your heroes all at once. Everybody takes turns picking heroes on each side. By the way, if anybody is in chat, if I can just get a quick indication on the audio quality, I'm actually getting some clicking, which if I'm just hearing it, I'm happy to sit through. But if the stream is hearing that as well, I'd rather get that dealt with sooner rather than later. Witch Doctor. This is who I'm going to be playing, the Witch Doctor. I actually really like this hero. I feel quite comfortable playing him, even if I'm against some stronger opponents. I'll talk a little bit about what I prefer to do on Witch Doctor as opposed to what I did this time around. And then because the enemy team's picked a Clockwork, again, this is a hero that kind of really only gets played in one position, and that's going to be the off lane. So what we're going to be dealing with here, we've got Lina and Witch Doctor. Lina is occasionally played in the mid. Storm Spirit has been played in a carry role in the safe lane, but generally I think is better served in the mid. So what we would normally expect is Storm Spirit versus one of these two heroes. No clipping on your side? Great, I smell like poo, and it's great to see you back again. We've got two supports here, and we knew this because we're the ones who picked it, and Peasant is playing Phantom Lancer. He's the highest skilled player on our team. He's actually also a very good Phantom Lancer player. And the team comes with the reply for their last hero pick is their carry, Anti-Mage. So these are two heroes that, once they get some farms and levels, become very strong. I would argue that Phantom Lancer is probably a bit stronger as a whole, but Storm Spirit has a feature that that makes him quite weak to anti-mage. And one of the reasons I'm doing Dota 2 is we just had the international on the weekend, and so we actually got to see the weakness of Storm Spirit versus the anti-mage right away. Anti-mage has an ability that deals damage in an area of effect based on the amount of mana that's missing. Storm Spirit has a very high mana pool, and he also uses up a lot of mana very quickly. So basically he uses up all his mana to get into range of anti-mage to use his ultimate on him, which is not a desirable combination. Buffered a couple times, but it's good now. Okay, good to hear. Thanks. And finally, the our guy picked Clinkz, which is basically, it's obvious that that was going to be an off-lane role. So I'm just going to pause the game for a second, although I kind of wish that it would play some music while I do that. I'm just going to go to a free camera for a sec. Oop. Game, why you do this? Sorry guys, I'm just going to tab out for a second and see if this fixes the... see if this fixes the problem. Hey, Kite260, and not a problem at all, I Smell It Poo. It's really great to have you in the stream as always. And if you have stuff that you need to get done, that's fine. It's, as I always say, it's my job to provide the entertainment, such as it is. Okay, so it looks like this thing doesn't move if I have it paused, which is weirding me out a little bit.
The magic ends here.
The stage
Nope.
is set. Everyone...
Sorry guys, oh, you know what? I think the perspectives don't change if I...
It is in the bag.
I think we can agree that
There we go. Okay. It's a little bit more like what it should be. Unfortunately, I don't get any of the music. Oh, and you know what? It's not letting me zoom in and out. Okay, this'll have to do. So, I'm going to talk a little bit just about this setup. So, I'm not going to do a full review over all the rules for Dota. Suffice to say, the basics of the game are you want to destroy the Ancient, which on my side is the giant glowing rock. I am really looking forward to when they put in the new client, because it's a little wacky right now. So this is the Ancient on my side. There's some symmetry in the map. Well, at least I can do this now. So this is the Radiant Ancient. The name of the game is to destroy the Ancient. The way that you do that is you need to break the defenses. So each lane has these towers. You've got tier 1s, which are the weakest. Tier 2 is right here. Tier 3 is the last one before you get to the barracks. The barracks are optional to destroy, but if you do destroy them, your automated units become stronger. Then finally, there's one last pair of towers. Once you've eliminated these, the base becomes open, and the first one to destroy the base wins. Now, your heroes are not strong enough to be able to destroy even a tier 1 tower really on their own, and so the game is focused around building up as much golden experience for your characters as you can. I was talking about carries, and what that basically is, this guy here, Peasant, isn't a particularly strong hero at the very beginning of the game. And so what we want to do is we want to buy him as much time as possible to sort of build up his strength and put him in a position where he's very difficult to deal with on the part of the enemy team. Now my character, who I am actually going to go into some detail about his abilities because we are going to be following me throughout this match, he is what's known as a support character. This means that if you notice, we've only got 3 lanes. So basically, these are the 3 main places where you're going to be earning golden experience, but you have 5 people on the team. So you could do something like 2-1-2, which is very common to see in early matches. And what this would mean is that you're kind of splitting experience between 2 heroes in each of these lanes, except for the mid lane where you have one person who kind of gets a solo lane of experience all to themselves. But one thing you can sort of do, because this hero is so dependent on gold and levels, you could actually try and make it so that he has almost a private lane to himself. And what I mean by almost is that as a support, I'm not always going to be just hanging out in lane sucking up XP from him. I'm actually going to be making an effort to try and hurt that Clockwork who's going to be laning around here. Try and keep them out of range from getting experience while sort of Again, trying to get some for myself, but basically making sure that my friend gets it. Hey, Chalk and Awesome, I'm glad to see and understand Dota 2, the inferior MOBA. Well, CPO, I'll just remember that when you when we go to play Crusader Kings 2 together next time. I really like Dota 2. I believe we've kind of been over this, but I like a lot of the features of it, and some of those features will actually come into play in this game here. In fact, one of them is that I tend to notice that you will still have you're going to have, in a case of League of Legends, I think the lanes are more or less well established. Like here, you could have 3 people in one lane, which is what we do here, and then 1 and 1. Generally in League, I think what you see is like 2 people in a lane, then 1 and 1. And then one person goes into the woods. Now, I do spend some time in the woods, but actually more often than not, I actually let Peasant take the woods, and that's just because he's so good at farming it very quickly. So the key here is that one of the reasons I like playing these support characters is it's a little bit of selfless play, and what you can do with this is you start relying a little bit more on the types of heroes who can have an impact in the game without necessarily relying on really intense mechanics or relying on getting a lot of gold and experience. It's a very challenging way to play the game, to just try and say that you know that you're at a disadvantage compared to all of your comrades, but you still need to go in and have an impact in the game. And I think I do an okay job this time around, but I'll talk about those a little bit. By the way, CPO, I hope at the end of this playthrough you'll be so amazed by this Witch Doctor that you will consider Dota 2. So I'm going to talk about his skills a little bit, especially because I actually do a different build from what I was thinking of at the beginning. So we've got well, first of all, we've got a beautiful set here. Look at this man. Look at that hat. Look at that snake. Look at that monkey. This is not what the hero looks like. These are the cosmetic items that you can buy or earn through the game. This monkey here is one of the immortals that they made specifically for the International. But it's a hero I like. I really like the way that he looks. You know, but you do enjoy getting your jabs, and let's face it, you would not know what to do without. Yeah, I definitely love the banter. There's a reason why I like. There's definitely a reason why I like. Like having an active chat. I'm really sorry there's not music right now, by the way, guys. I will hit the play button as soon as I can. But I do want to get some basics out of the way in terms of how Witch Doctor works. So each of his skills. There's Paralyzing Cask. And what this does is when it hits an enemy, it will stun them. It has a bit of a difference in terms of if it stuns a creep, which is one of the automated units that the computer runs, or a hero. It's shorter for a hero. It does a little bit of damage to a hero, but not a lot. It's just 50 or is it just 50 damage? I think it's just 50. Anyways, what really happens is the more you level it up, the shorter the cooldown it has, which means you can cast it more often, and most importantly, it does more bounces. At the first level, it only does 2 bounces. At the highest level, it does 8 bounces. So what... the drawback about it is, let's say I threw a Paralyzing Cask into this fountain. There are presently 3 other targets. There should be a 4th target, but I don't think Okapi has loaded in at this point yet. But basically, if you throw, let's say we throw the cask on me, it could bounce to Peasant, then back to me. It could bounce to Peasant, then Maka. It could bounce to me, then Submania. Like, it could go to any one of these people, and again, when it bounces again, it could go to any of the other ones. So you know you're guaranteed that one brief stun on the target that you hit, but if there's a big cluster of people, you're really not guaranteed anything else. But this is the big trick about Paralyzing Cask, is if you pay attention to when you use it, let's pretend for a second here that these were enemy units around me, and that this courier was the only other allied unit. We'll say that this is an actual hero. Now think about what happens when you throw the Paralyzing Cask. And let's say it's like the top level, which has 8 bounces. Well, because there's only one other allied unit in the way, now you have, one bounce number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and all of a sudden it turns into basically a multiple second stun, which is guaranteed. So sometimes there's a little bit of random chance that's involved. Now, again, I like heroes like that. For instance, I think there are right ways to play Ogre Magi which is another sort of random chance-based hero. I think there are ways to play it correctly to maximize your chances of certain events happen. Maybe not maximizing chances is the best way, but basically you can position yourself for those quote-unquote lucky strikes to happen a little bit more often. And similarly with Witch Doctor, you can definitely set yourself up so that the ideal situations have a maximum impact, and the times where it doesn't turn out, it's just like, well, you know, we didn't lose anything doing that as well. So, dem polygons. I'm not sure what you mean, but anyways. So that's Paralyzing Cask. I generally like leveling a stun first, and I think it makes the most sense for this hero as well. His second ability is just a straight up heal. It's called Voodoo Restoration. There is a radius that comes up around the Witch Doctor. At the first level, it will heal 16 health per second for 8 mana. Or I don't think it's per second, it's per tick. And then at the maximum level, it's going to be 40 health per tick and at a cost of 20 mana. So it's expensive mana-wise in some ways, but I definitely notice, like, once you max that thing out, your heroes become... I think generally the way people play against Witch Doctors are they assume a fixed health for the enemy team, which is correct. I mean, everybody's health doesn't change, but they really don't account for this ticking, 40 health per tick heal. And that makes the difference for team fights. I think there's a couple of moments where you'll see me position myself to sort of give an advantage to Peasant so that he can, he can get the most out of his abilities. It basically allows you to push other heroes to the limit. Now, what you'll very commonly see with Witch Doctors is they will alternate between Voodoo Restoration and Paralyzing Cask, and they'll max Voodoo Restoration first just because it's such a good heal. What I personally like doing is generally leveling up Maledict and maximizing it first. Oh, when I was slowly rotating around the monkey. Gotcha. So what happens with Maledict is a little complicated to explain, but basically there's a little area of effect that you throw down. It lasts 12 seconds. And basically what happens is every 4 seconds it does damage, but it's not a fixed amount of damage. What happens is the amount of damage it deals increases based on the amount of damage that the person has taken. So to give you an example here, if I just cast Maledict on an enemy, level 1 or level 4, it's, just a bit of damage over time that they kind of shrug off. Now, alternatively, let's say I Paralyzing Cask them, I Maledict them, and while they are stunned, everybody just piles on and beats the crap out of them for a couple of seconds before they run away. All of that damage that they have done means the next few ticks of Maledict is going to do that much more damage to the enemy. So generally, if you can jump on somebody, Maledict them, and deal a lot of burst damage to them, they're going to wind up dying to the tick. Now, the reason why people tend not to skill Maledict right away is it's a little bit difficult to land. It doesn't have the greatest range, and the radius for the area of effect is quite small. And then it also relies on this other assumption that you're going to be able to do an effective amount of damage on somebody. So I think that's the reason why people avoid Maledict, but at least at my skill level, I actually tend to find that I'm able to land more Maledicts than not. And personally, I think it's an underrated skill. So I like maxing Maledict first, although I talked with Peasant about what he wanted, and he preferred the max heal. So that's what I went for this round. Finally, his ultimate, as with most heroes, it's a defining feature of the character. This one is a little bit odd as well. So the idea here is that you have to stand in place and channel it. While you're channeling it, this little ward comes up, and it just starts shooting, I'll call them laser beams. Basically, it just shoots the lasers at the enemy. It does a lot of damage. It specifically says here that it's an attack range of 700 units and attacks every 0.22 seconds. It's damage 60 at the first level, 120 at the final level. It also starts bouncing if you buy an item known as Aghanim Scepter. It's just generally, it's a big flashy ability. It's a real pain to go against, and it deals a lot of damage. And you will see this thing used very often. I love this ultimate. It has about 1 minute and 20 seconds for a cooldown, which is relatively short. And generally what I notice is a lot of Witch Doctors will sit on this ultimate and just not use it. I don't care if it's 1 hero or 5 heroes in the area. If I can get a good Death Ward down, especially if it ensures a kill, I really don't mind using it, because 1 minute is not that long. So the big idea that you get here, you've got crowd control, you've got healing. Like, these are the things that you think by definition are support rules. So at this point, I think I've taken up enough of your patience, especially with the absence of music. Again, we're going to be using the Deadmau5 dieback pack. I'm going to be using my Stanley Parable announcer pack, although I'm really surprised. There's a lot of announcer packs here. So I'm going to use the Stanley Parable announcer, and then I've already picked my layout. This is what it normally looks like, but I like my Scions of the Sky loadout. So I got to go change that when I'm unpaused. When I'm unpaused.
This one is in the bag.
Oh yeah, it's in the bag.
The quiver. This one
It's in the bag.
So here's having a couple of mouse problems. You'll see me buy certain items twice and then sell them. I spent way too much time in the fountain here just trying to give like wards to people, figuring stuff out. The drawback is that there's going to be 2 bounty ward runes that spawn at the in the river. And what happens here is I'm way too late joining. Like, notice that Peasant is already sitting at the river waiting for things to kick off. The runes are going to spawn at the
1 minute until 30 seconds after battle.
at the 0 second mark. Here I finally gave Clinks his ward. But basically, I took way too long to get to the river. What the enemy team could be doing right now, they could be warding my camps, which are going to come up a little bit later. They don't. You'll notice that they're hanging out here as well. But basically, you'll see that I'm not even close to getting to the river in time where I'm needed, and my stun would actually be really helpful. Notice that there's 2 people. If I throw that paralyzing cask at them, it's going to be bouncing between them forever. But in this case, the Clockwork, I believe, gets the bounty. Yep, he does. So Peasant, to his credit, didn't yell at me too much for not being present, but it's definitely a blunder that I made there, because there's no excuse for me not to be in position. So what I'm going to do now is just get down a ward. This is actually pretty stupid of me, because you can see that they've got vision right here. It's very obvious what I'm going to be doing, but on the other hand, this is a fairly obvious ward spot. I do really like putting it in this place, though, because just take a look at all of the area that it's covering. Like, you're able to see the rune, you're able to see the activity behind the enemy tower. This is going to be putting my Storm Spirit in a really good position. So, in the meantime, I'm just trying to get into position. Clockwork's already kind of getting up in everybody's face, as he should be. He's got a fairly decent amount of health. But unfortunately for him, he decided to pick a fight with Alina, who's got a stun. I've got my stun. Notice here, actually, I'm gonna bounce back on that, because it's kind of hard to notice. Maybe I'll go to free camera for this. Maybe I will go to free camera for this. So what you'll notice here, so he picks the fight with Lina. Lina drops the stun on him. Now notice that there's only 1 creep in range. So you throw the coconut, bounce, bounce, and I get the last hit on him. So that's, I mean, a huge mistake on the part of the Clockwork. I don't know if he thought that the Lina wouldn't do the stun, or I definitely wasn't expecting me to be there. He probably just saw me through his ward and assumed that I was going to be doing something mid. But in this case, we got the first blood, and I'm actually off to a pretty good start. I've got enough for my boots right now. Now, what I'm trying to do here, notice that I'm trying to deny... These creeps are worth golden experience to the enemy. So what I'm doing here is I'm using the woods to my advantage. I'm pulling them. This is one thing that I don't believe you can do in League of Legends. What I'm going to try and do here is pull this larger camp. I mess up the timing, though. I think I did it too late, and they're going to... Or do I get away with this? I only get 2, so not that great. I can't remember if I use a coconut to try and bounce that out. But yeah, so he figured out what I'm doing over here. Notice again, I'm not scared at using the coconut because basically that's just going to mess him up. That's going to make sure that I can get the last hits on things. But again, just generally a bit of a blunder, again, on my part as far as making sure that I did the pull properly. Peasant definitely prefers that you double stack the camp. You can actually set it up to make sure that that you have 2 spawns in one area. I'm not crazy about that strategy, but I think he makes a good case for the dire side because it's like, as you notice that the Rubik pinged out the fact that I was pulling the camp right away. So again, throw the coconut. A little optimistic here, but we know that we can get another kill. So in that case, you can see what he was trying to do. Like his friend Clockwork pinged me out, so they were going to try and make something happen. But basically, we're not going to stand there idly by, letting them get a kill on us. Here I'm just trying to block the creep wave, so we push it a little bit closer to our tower. You'll notice that our allies are pushed up quite far ahead. The idea here, again, you want that creep line as close to your tower as you can get, just so you prevent your enemy from getting as much golden experience. If you can force the enemy to be about here, then you've got so many entryways from the woods to be able to take them out. You notice I'm not spending a lot of time with my allies just because, again, I don't want to be splitting up any of the experience. I'm better off stacking and pulling. And in this case, I don't think I got this pull. No, I was way too early on that. So this is definitely a bad game as far as all of my stacking and pulling are concerned. But notice we bought the flying courier right at the 2-minute mark because I was able to get so much money from those kills. So in this case, I'm just going back to my traditional pull. This is the way, by the way, so even though I'm not hanging out in lane, the fact that I'm doing these stacks and pulls are what's giving me my gold and my experience. Assuming that I didn't get the kills, I'm going to be getting them through this end here. Again, I think I was a little bit off on my timing. Yeah. This is definitely a very hard camp to do this pull through on, although just in general on this round, I did a particularly bad job of the pulling. Now, what the Rubik did was really obvious. He walked up, put down a ward, and turned away. Now, as a player, I'm not able to see that he put down that ward. To my detriment, I didn't buy a sentry and de-ward that. What this does here is it gives them a bunch of vision in terms of what my activity is going to be. Now, this isn't the worst thing in the world to let them know that I'm hanging around, because what it means is as soon as I start moving towards their lane, they're going to, they're going to back off. So what I want to do here is just make sure that I'm, here I'm really still not having any luck with my pulls. But basically, every time I move closer to the lane, they are able to see that I'm coming in and they'll back off. So that also gives a little bit of intimidation. But in general, I want to be killing that ward, because right now we're winning our lane. And if we can keep crapping on the enemy team, that's preferable. So you can see Nick was pinging out this this camp over here, telling me that I needed to get experience. The reason why I moved over was I'd missed so many of the camps, and I miss it yet again. Oh no! Oh my god! I actually brought those 2 creeps with me. I avoided the small camp just so I could get the advantage of the large one. Now, I was suggesting to him, let's go in. We can get a kill on him because we're going to see the bounce between the Centaur and the Rubik. But unfortunately, we weren't quite ready for the rotation, so. And Lena's stun, I tend to notice that I'm able to land Lena's stun without assistance, but generally she kind of needs me to set up with the coconut, because it's definitely not an easy one to hit. So you'll notice in this game, as with most cases, it is actually a fairly slow start. Like in this case, we just want to make sure that Nick is getting his start. What we can do is we can take a look at last hits and denies. You'll notice that he is the highest. He's out farming just by a little bit compared to the anti-mage. Here, unfortunately, Lena got caught by the Pudge. Again, we're focusing just on me, which is not always the most exciting thing at the start of the game. Another thing you can take a look at is net worth. In this case here, Death Prophet is actually at the top. It means that Storm Spirit's sort of losing his match. But maybe I'm just going to shut up and focus on the combat here. So what we're going to do here again is actually rewind. So what maybe isn't as apparent, let me just hold that. So, you know, the big question here is why am I healing up? If we zoom out, you can see that there's combat about to start. So these guys are in a perfect position for a coconut. So I throw that, and then notice that I stay just outside the cogs, but I'm always making sure that this green is touching Peasant. So in this case, we already got the kill on Rubik, and then I just kind of move back so that Peasant can get the kill on the Clockwork. Unfortunately, I do wind up aggroing the creep wave. It was mostly so I could get my boots, and right now I'm just kind of healing him up. You'll see that's only at level 2, so it's just doing 7 healing. But basically, this is a perfect start to our game. We've gotten 3 kills on the off lane. I'm feeling quite happy. I've got my arcane boots at 7 minutes, which almost never happens. I didn't pull the camp here because the camp would damage me and my clarity potion would be cancelled. And at this point, I'm kind of I'm kind of talking with Peasant and just saying, is like, hey, you know, do you need anything? He's like, no, you should probably go help the other lanes. Because I mean, at this point, he's got such an advantage that the enemy team can't do anything to him. So he's currently sitting at level 6. Rubik and Clockwork are among the lowest level. They're at level 4. So if they try to do anything to him, he's going to be able to cause a lot of trouble. So here we catch the Pudge. Here I just kind of throw out the stun to mess with him. I'm not going to get anything else. I do ping them out because what's happening mid right now is death. The Storm Spirit definitely went in very hard. I'm sorry I can't zoom out any... Oh, I can zoom out a little bit further for you guys. But basically there was a fight going on. Storm Spirit was getting really low, and I was pinging out the Pudge just so he could notice him. He wasn't paying attention, though. So here we're attempting to get a kill on the Anti-Mage. Now, I think I misdiagnosed there being an enemy creep there. Clinks was mad at me over this gank, but I don't think it was really worth it. One thing I will say, it would have been better if Lina was a little bit closer to us. So I could throw the coconut and then she could land her light strike array. But in this case here, I threw the coconut. It didn't really do that much. And in this case, we weren't able to burst him down in time. He just bounced away and got away. So one of the things that happened in this case is, like, one, in my opinion, the Clinks wasn't very clear about how he wanted the gank to go down. In this case, bringing 3 people to kill that one hero is a gank. So what happens here is I just wind up wasting a bunch of time and mana on, you know, on something that's ultimately not successful. But his reaction was basically... In this case, I started walking away because we weren't sure what was... whether or not people wanted to do it. Unfortunately, we couldn't get that last hit at the last second, so he just denies himself a suicide. And Death Prophet shows up. So this ult is more than I can currently handle, so I kind of leave Lina to die. And the ideal here is that the team sort of TPs into position. Unfortunately, Storm goes to the top tower here. I don't have any mana to do anything, but I can at least tempt her to move in deeper. What winds up happening is I'm going to... Oh, I was going to focus on Clinks, but he died a little bit too quickly. So, in that case, it was a screwed up situation overall. I did what I could to at least kind of not, like, completely... seem like I was a hopeless target. And what should have happened there was the Death Prophet, you know, take the bait and go to the... Go to the second tier tower. In any case, things are kicking off in the middle. Bottom tower got denied. Here we have a little bit more luck with this Anti-Mage. Let me rewind that again. This was a case of the Lina combination working a little bit better. My Witch Doctor's getting jiggy with it. So we fortified the tower just so that we'd be able to deny it, which Lina successfully does right here. So Anti-Mage thought that Lina was alone. We managed to get the coconut to bounce once on him, and then Lina's got this big, heavy damage ability called Dragon Slave, which did 250 damage and was enough to take her out. So my contribution was fairly minor in that one, but as it kind of gives you an example of why I max the Paralyzing Cask first, because it's a really strong ability, especially when somebody's mixed between 2 of their allies. It's going to be kind of stuns for days, as long as you position it correctly. So here I've got my ultimate, and that's what it does. So again, what I'm going to do here is another replay, because of course it's such an amazing play on my part. But we'll just slow it down and we'll focus on what's happening. What you want to pay attention to in this video here is that we'll throw the coconut to the Death Prophet. Notice that there's only one enemy. Well, sorry, there's two enemies in this situation, right? You've got one here, one here. So the likelihood of it hitting the Death Prophet is fairly high. Once she starts running away, again, she sort of starts limiting her options. And what's going to be happening here is everybody's going to be running away from this Death Ward. So I've slowed down the game just so you can sort of see the dynamics of this ability. So she tries to get some damage on me. I actually throw it at, yeah, it was the creep. And in this case here, you see it comes back to bounce her. So just as she's getting out of range of this thing, it does enough damage. And then I don't finish channeling the ult because Pudge is not going to willingly walk into it. So one last time, just now you kind of know what to look for.
Boy, fresh meat.
So again, throw the cask, immediately drop the Death Ward, and the Death Prophet's completely stunned because, again, if there's only a few enemies in the area, you're more or less certain that the coconut's going to hit more than once. It's only called a coconut because I have this special immortal. It is called Paralyzing Cask, but coconut's a better name. So again, the score right now, 14-6. Not necessarily, you don't really judge a Dota 2 game based on the number of kills. It's a good leading indicator of who is winning the match because, of course, if you're getting lots of kills, chances are you're getting lots of gold and experience. Here, Peasant's doing his thing, so I just want to be there at the very least to do some health for him. I also got a ward down, but you can see I'm sort of thinking about doing something, but at this point I took a look down at my my mini-map. Peasant is getting chased down by Pudge, but Pudge hasn't landed a hook, so I think he's going to get a kill on him.
Keep murdering.
And at this point I'm just walking around being useless.
Radiant's top tower is fallen.
That is until I start healing him, of course. Another nice thing, like, again, because in this game either the ganks have been very clean or I haven't been the target of the attacks, I'm sitting on a big pack of tangos, which I don't really know what to do with. I think I tried to give one of them to him, but he didn't take it, so. Now, you'll notice there is an enemy hero here. The reason why we didn't go on the attack was there's no way of knowing whether or not he's alone or if there's a bunch of other people with him. Like, as far as our vision is concerned, we didn't see any of these other people. And, I mean, yeah, we're kind of strong. As it is, Nick went in to go take the anti-mage once it was apparent. Once he moves away from the tower, he's... there's less of a chance of people coming in to teleport for support. So he eventually went in to get the kill anyway. Or, sorry, he didn't get the kill. Oh, funny. So yeah, in this case, I guess he must have miscalculated. But in this case, he did go in for the kill once he was past a certain distance. I didn't think he was actually going to go for the kill, so probably could have helped him and prevented him from dying there. But you'll notice here, remember how I was talking about the woods being a source of economy? Well, Nick's dead right now. So if I don't clean these camps, and basically this is revenue that's potentially gone away. I have started my headdress. This is going to be building to another item that gives healing. It's actually specifically going to be an item that gives mana and healing, called the Guardian Greaves. But basically here, it's very rare that supports get a lot of farm. You don't necessarily want to be taking that from other people. So if I can spend some time in the woods to lay claim to those, I'll be happy. So here I saw that there were two people mid. Pudge has just revealed himself, so again, I throw more of a, you know, disrespectful coconut. If there's nothing else around, there's not a lot you can expect it to do, but the thing is that if that gives you like a fraction of a second more, you know, where somebody else can come in and do something, you're going to be, you know, all of a sudden it's just going to go from, okay, I wasted a little bit of mana on a coconut to, oh, hey, we got a kill we weren't expecting. So I don't really mind throwing out stuns like that on the chance that an ally happens to get in with a last minute stun of their own or something like that. So here again, Pudge and Nick are doing something on their own. Nick has disengaged, and so I go back into the woods. I think I farm up this jungle just because right now we're at 1430. Nope, apparently I don't, so I'm assuming I must have thought that he'd get there in time, but I don't really see how he's going to cross that distance in 30 seconds. So at this point here, it kind of looks like I'm not doing a whole lot, but the big thing here is that the enemy team doesn't know where I am. I'm in the woods right now, and it's very clear that there are people ganging up. So the ability for me to throw a stun and then drop the death ward is pretty significant. At this point here, of course, Clinks has found the anti-mage. So I'm thinking gank is going to be happening, and he disengages. Again, I'm not going to go out of my way to help this Clinks because he already gave us crap over over the failed gank on anti-mage. And as it happens, you know, while we're busy wasting our time over the side here, the enemy team picks up a free tower. So it's a little bit of a loss. But again, notice we've got two heroes close to each other. So I get to drop my death ward, and it's another free kill on Death Prophet. Now there is a mistake that the enemy team makes here. So again, I'm gonna jump back to these epic plays. Okay, so notice that I'm channeling, right? I'm in a position where I have to stay still. Now, the Death Prophet's here. She's doomed, basically, right? There's just one creep here that's going to be taking the coconut. The Death Prophet is sort of standing still at this point. So this Death Ward's going to run the full duration and keep smacking her. Now, again, I've done my best to stay in the woods here because I... like, there is a Pudge running around, right? And if he's able to get a hook off on me, then this animation is canceled. Now, you'll notice there is not exactly a direct line. I wish I could say this is planned. It's not. But right now there's a creep in the way, but it doesn't require that much for him to move up and then throw the hook to take me out. I might get lucky and have the creep line move up. Or it's possible that he just doesn't know where I am. I'm pretty sure me throwing the coconut is sufficient for him to get vision on me, at least temporarily. So there is a little bit of strategy behind specifically being in this spot so I can stay disguised. Obviously, if I was out in lane, then Pudge has got a perfect hook. What would have been maybe a little bit smarter for Pudge, if he didn't know where I was, he can also throw his hook onto the Death Prophet and pull her into the tree line here. At that point... you know, he's at least going to save his teammate. He maybe won't get a kill, but he's at least going to prevent her from dying. The other thing, too, is, of course, that Storm Spirit jumps in to try and get the last hit on this. You'll notice I actually get the kill credit. So one thing that would have happened is had Pudge either tried to save his ally or tried to hook me. Again, Storm Spirit isn't... like, he's moving in expecting to encounter an enemy at this point. He's not moving in to encounter an enemy over to the side here. All right, have a good night, Kite. Sorry it wasn't a more exciting stream than what it normally is. I hope somebody at least is enjoying Dota. If not, let me know. I'll reconsider the format. But I thought this was somewhat of an instructive support game. One other thing, while I'm paused here, let's just take a quick look at where we are as far as hero levels are concerned. Again, the anti-mage has actually been able to get his farm alongside the Storm Spirit. Nick is actually at a lower level than this anti-mage, so it's not a guaranteed win for us. And I am actually among one of the lowest level heroes, right? As far as, like, Rubik is at level 6, I'm at level 7. But I'm at the bottom of this distribution. There's a full 4-level difference between me and the enemy team's anti-mage. But the other thing that you could look at would be to say the impact that's been had on this game. So Storm Spirit, 6 kills, 3 deaths. So he's been involved in 9 kills and has died in 3 of them. Right now I haven't died, but I've participated in 6 kills, the same as Peasant. So one thing about this is that even though I'm the lowest level on my team, the presence has been felt. Like, it's only the mid player that's really having more of an impact. The Clinks really hasn't done that much. He's got 2 kills, 1 death, 1 assist, so he's been involved in 3 kills. Lena's been involved in 6. She's been assisted 5, got the last hit on 1. So, I mean, at this point here, I'm perfectly satisfied with the way this has gone as a support. I mean, again, there could be some efficiencies in terms of my movements, and again, I've let some wards stay up, which didn't do anything. But the big thing here is I haven't died and I haven't allowed the enemy team to get fed off of any of my deaths. In the meantime, I have been able to get some of these solo kills on, or near solo kills on enemy heroes. So, by the way, Kite, I can't see I can't see anybody's emotes, so sorry I'm not responding to whatever was at the end. But I hope you have a really good sleep. Okay. Oops.
Dominating.
So again, it kind of looks like Pudge was going to try and go for something, but it didn't turn out. It's actually kind of smart of for the Clockwork to try and ping, or to try and flare that. I think it was to try and get vision on me for the Pudge, but it didn't turn out. And again, I got what I needed. There's not a whole lot that I can do in the center now that my Death Ward's on cooldown, so I'm just going to kill some camps while I'm waiting. If they decide to group up and attack the mid tower, again, I got 50 seconds on my Death Ward. Remember, I would say, like, it seems like 80 seconds is a really long time, especially when you compare that to, let's say, 14 seconds. But you can see, like, I'm not getting a whole lot done before that thing is finished. I can't recall exactly why I'm standing around here. I remember I was originally intending to farm up the camps, and then if they came in the middle, I probably wouldn't have the Death Ward up in time, but I basically wanted to make sure I was in the jungle or the woods to basically be ready with the team fight. Again, Peasant's getting a little aggressive with his Phantom Lancer. He's pushing up way ahead. There's not a lot of value for me walking with him to a lane there. It wasn't like we were going to be pushing that. I think in this case he was just trying to go for a kill. I did set up a ward, so I don't know if there's a lot that I could do to prevent his death in that case. However, there is a tower that's being attacked here. I'm thinking that it's possible that this little raiding party might try to go and defend the tower. Certainly the anti-mage is coming as well. So I'm not actually participating in the attack. I am staying off to the side with the in the woods. But that's mostly so I can try and get the drop on somebody. Again, I got my Death Ward up. Doesn't seem like anybody's coming, so I throw my coconut. Now the anti-mage has showed up, so I at least want to get my last hits, because, hey, it's the Clink who sassed me earlier. And then now we'll see if we can get a kill. We don't, though. He walks away. So instead, I TP to base, hoping to land a coconut, but because everybody TP'd all at once, they're backing off. Peasant finds them, though, so want to guess what ability I use? So the coconut. And again, this one is a lot better. Even though Pudge lands the hook on Lina, he's standing in position to basically to tank the full Death Ward. So we get 2 kills from that. Again, I got my healing ward up. I want to make sure that I'm close to Peasant to make sure that he's keeping healed up. I don't want to get too close because I am going to wind up getting hurt. But in this case, I do get another kill on the Clockwork. At this point, I have no mana. I don't know if Anti-Mage used his Mana Void. He is shown here, so I don't need to worry so much about that. But there is a little bit of concern. Like, what I want to do here is I only have 834 health. So I do want to make sure, even if it looks like like Nick's going in fairly deep, or he might need a little bit of extra damage, I am just doing 86 damage per hit. My contribution is more around the spells that I can cast. So until I have some mana, it's not really worth it for me to go in with him, which is why you kind of see me, even though he's mopping up, I guess it was Clockwork. Even though he's mopping somebody up, I don't have a whole lot that I can do. In this case, I just go straight back to the fountain because that's the fastest way that I can raise up my mana. I'm also still sitting on tangos, and I was going to use this. I was going to use a circlet to build into something, but.
Radiant's top tower is under siege.
Oh, and thanks, Kite. Sorry, I didn't read that message before. You're probably in bed now, but I'm glad you got to learn something about it. So I didn't actually wind up turning the circlet into anything, but I mean, it's 2 extra to attributes. I might as well hang on to it until I find something better. The Shadow Amulet I'm buying is to get a new item that was added to the game called the Glimmer Cape. What the Glimmer Cape does is it allows you to turn invisible even if you're using a channeled ability. So this is a dirty one to use on Witch Doctor's ultimate. What you do is you start channeling the ultimate, you activate the Glimmer Cape, and you go invisible. So let's say Pudge wanted to try and get a hook on me, or Rubik tried to telekinesis me or something like that. It actually means that they can't see me. They either need to buy dust or they need to wait for the Glimmer Cape to wear off. So it's actually a I think it's a pretty good item on Witch Doctor. People used to build something called a BKB, which stands for Black King Bar. It makes you immune to magic abilities like stuns. Not all stuns, but most of them. But I'd argue that in this situation, Glimmer Cape was a little bit better. Especially because Rubik has an ability that allows him to steal enemy spells. You could actually hear that just off to the left, and you can see that he stole a spell called Static Remnant. So one thing, he will steal the last spell that was cast, and the problem with Death Ward is I'm standing in place to channel it. So one of the reasons why I got a Glimmer Cape as well was that if I can go invisible before Rubik noticed me, it means that prevents him from stealing this really powerful spell that I have. I do actually let him get it at one point. So this was really dumb of me to move up here. I can't remember exactly why I did that. But I mean, the Pudge could have tried hooking. I mean, probably would have landed the hook because I'm not that good at dodging them. But at that point, like, the whole enemy team was there, and I believe I should have been able to see them with the ward. So in this case, they didn't capitalize on the opportunity. But on the other hand, they might have also thought that I was, you know, I was in position. So again, I'm spending a lot of time wandering around the map. Again, the big thing here is that you don't always need the levels and gold to make your contribution. I am looking for the gold to get... I need 500 gold for the cloak side of things. But at this point here, this wave isn't being farmed. So I'm just going to hang out, take the golden experience. You only get gold if you get a last hit on a creep. You can deny your own creeps, though I don't necessarily want to do it. One thing I do want to prevent is these creeps from doing damage to this tower, and they do have a catapult with them. So I'm not scared of throwing away a coconut just to kind of keep them in place and do some extra damage. And in this case, we keep them safely far away from the tower. I also give Storm Spirit a little bit of mana. So I got my 500 gold. This is the Glimmer Cape. I'll read the abilities here because I don't think anything happens for the next little bit. The active ability is called Glimmer. After a 0.4 second delay, it grants invisibility and 55% magic resistance to you or a target allied unit. So another thing is one of my allies could be in the middle of a fight. Let's say Peasant is just about to die. It looks like there's a fight that might be breaking out here. So you notice that I'm walking currently. And then, unfortunately, Anti-Mage shows up and kills the Storm Spirit. Storm wasn't that good this game, so I don't feel quite as bad about that. But in any case, 55% magic resistance. Let's say Peasant is in trouble and I'm not able to heal him. I can cast the Glimmer ability on him and he'll go invisible. So here we catch a Rubik out of position, so I throw the coconut, but I don't use the ultimate. I'm saving the ultimate for when we're fighting under the tower, ideally, or at least when we've got a bunch of heroes grouped together. Again, I'm always staying in the back lines because I am still fragile. I still have under 1,000 damage. Death Prophet has thrown out her ultimate, and I throw out mine, and you'll notice I am invisible at the moment. So what I'll do again... I'll just give you an example of how this works from the enemy perspective. So I'm going to go for player perspective. I think it's good to use... I think we can use the Death Prophet's view here. So this is what Death Prophet's looking at. So they're getting chased down. She uses her ultimate. She throws herself up in the air to prevent her from taking damage. Here I am. I throw my ultimate, and then I'm gone. So basically you just get to watch horrible murder.
Double slaying.
So it's not a perfect solution. Like, a player with fast enough reactions is going to be able to stun me or steal my ability, but we had already killed the Rubik, so it's not exactly like I have a lot to fear about my spell getting stolen. But overall, I mean, Glimmer Cape is a relatively cheap item. I think it's a really good one. And it also gives you a couple of other bonuses. So 20 attack speed, 20% spell resistance. Not a huge deal, because if you notice a lot of these heroes, like Death Prophet's going to do some magic damage with her Crypt Swarm. But her ultimate does physical damage. Pudge does a lot of physical damage. Rubik, I guess, is a little bit more magic damage oriented, but he's not a primary damage dealer. Again, Clockwork, mostly physical damage, and Anti-Mage, again, primarily he's going to be killing me with his right clicks. And if he uses a Mana Void on me when I'm empty, I mean, I'm just going to die. The 20% resistance isn't going to do a lot. By the way, remember, we still have the memory of killing Death Prophet fresh in our memory, and we've got 10 seconds left on my ultimate, so I'm able to use it again. Here, this is a move I particularly like doing. So when you've kind of got the enemy on the run, one of the best things that you can do, especially if you've got some allies with you, farm their jungle. So what the enemy team is looking to do right now, you can see the XP is going really severely in our favor, as is the gold. So the one thing that they want to do is start closing that gap. And one of the ways that they can do that, and you'll actually see light blue, this is Pudge. They're trying to farm their jungle to try and catch up. Well, if we're just running in and ransacking their economy, we're going to be in a much better spot. We're not only gaining those resources, but we're denying them to the enemy. In this case here, I just threw another cask because, again, we want to clear that creep wave as quickly as we can. The best thing that we can do right now is actually to try and force the issue. We're ahead. Peasants in the middle. It actually looks like they're clustering up for him, so I always make sure that I have a TP scroll. And again, there's resources to be consumed, so I just throw the coconut and we take as many of the enemy team's resources as we can get. So just notice what's happening to the enemy team. So like, I'm somebody who doesn't need golden levels, but I'm still, like, I'm not taking them away from Peasant, who can still farm our jungle. But the enemy team, take a look at everybody who is looking around trying to get resources. You've got Anti-Mage, which is a core on their team. You've got Clockwork, which is a core on their team. And then Rubik was in the middle as well. So he's the support. He's the one who's probably not going to be claiming any of those resources. But what we've done is we've taken about 2 or 3 rounds worth of farm golden experience away from them, as well as a tower. And they have absolutely nothing to show for all of that time that was spent. In addition, all of that time that I was spending doing that farming was just waiting for my Death Ward to come off of cooldown. So at this point, if I can find somebody out on their own, especially if they're beside one of their creeps, I'm going to be able to throw another coconut, throw another Death Ward, which is doing 90 damage per tick now rather than 60. And I've got my Glimmer Cape, I've got my mechanism, like everything is just fantastic at this point. I don't know why it's queuing up Shiva's Guard for me, because I know I was building Guardian Greaves. Pudge, I have no idea what he was doing there. So that's Maledict. Again, I'm like, perfect opportunity. So we drop the Death Ward. I didn't even get a chance to really show what Maledict does because he died so quickly. But at this point here, because we've got a kill on, on an enemy unit, we can.
Radiant's middle tower is being attacked.
We can do damage.
Double kill.
Okay. I'm going to take a minute here and show you why I didn't like playing with these other guys. So it's very clear what our intentions are at this point, right? We are moving up the middle to... actually, I went a little too far. But you guys get to see another Death Ward again. You guys like that, right? So we're very clearly moving forward. We're either trying to find kills. Primarily, we're trying to take this this tower. So now what we're going to do is we're going to follow Clinks. Clink says, oh, hey, there's an anti-mage who's a lot more leveled than me. I'm going to try and kill him. He dies instantly. And then finally, let's rewind that. Let's take a look at this from Storm's point of view now. So Storm has got full mana, 1362, uses all of his mana to go to anti-mage, and he blows up. Now, why does he blow up? If we take a look at Anti-Mage, he has an ability called Mana Void, which is now level 3 because he's level 16. You know that basically any hero that hits level 16 is going to have their the top version of their ultimate. That is the same for almost every hero in the game. For each point of mana missing by the target unit, damage is dealt to it and the surrounding enemies. The main target is also mini-stunned. The amount of damage that it does at level 3 is 1.1. The stun duration is 0.3, but you don't use this thing for its stun usually. So, keep that number in mind. For every point of mana, you do 1.1... every point of mana that's missing, you do 1.1 damage. Let's go back to Storm. Storm has 1,524 health, and he's got 1,362 mana in total. When he lands, keep in mind he's using his Ball Lightning to aggressively go on top of the Anti-Mage. The amount of damage that is going to do on him is 12. Or, well, 12 plus 0.75. Yeah. Anyway, I think I've got this wrong. There's some weird way that they calculate the damage. Yeah, it's damage per distance traveled. Anyways, it's not enough to kill the Anti-Mage. This ability on its own will not one-shot an Anti-Mage. So, every time you see this thing go black, this is potential damage that the Anti-Mage can do to this Storm Spirit. How does he choose to play this? Better use up all my mana. Yeah. There's absolutely no other possible way that encounter could have gone. So at this point, we're like, okay, these guys are not serious. And we decide that we'll just finish off the game as 3. And yes, I realize that makes me sound like an elitist, but this is the problem of having a Storm Spirit on a team with against an anti-mage, is that basically they spend all their mana to arrive so that they can get mana voided. And keep in mind, if the rest of the team was surrounding him at that time, we would have taken that damage as well. That is certainly enough to have killed me, because I've just gotten to 1,000 health. Well, specifically, almost 1,200 health, but there's enough. See, this is another thing to keep in mind too, right? Like, I've got 1245 mana myself. Like, I am also a prime target for Mana Void. That's why I have things like Glimmer Capes and also Arcane Boots, but I don't really think an Arcane Boots is really going to save your life if you get Mana Voided. So I think Peasant's getting caught out again here. There's nothing that I can really do in this situation, right? So I kind of do... I do what I can. I push out the waves. I'm not going to pursue this any further because, again, the enemy has just shown themselves in these areas. So if I try and go up the mid lane, they're going to... I'm probably going to be the next one to wind up killed. So in this case here, I know that my Phantom Lancer isn't going to be needing any of these stacks. The Clinks is obviously farming, so I'm not going to necessarily take any of the stacks that he's working on. But I'm also, like... I am going to go out and get what I can for myself. Not quite sure why he said LOL. My mouth. Oh, he got killed by Rubik. I think at this point we were talking about what the next move was. I'm such an idiot for this, by the way. So, I don't know if you guys noticed, but I drop one of my items. So I've got this point booster here, which gives me 150 mana, 200 health. I drop this so I can get the extra mana, and for whatever reason, I thought it didn't drop or something like that. So I drop it, give her the mana, and I just walk away completely oblivious to the fact that it's standing there. This is a really expensive item, and I'm actually using it to build my Aghanim Scepter. I TP to defend this bottom tower. I still don't know that I'm missing my point booster. Anti-Mage is long gone, so I mean, at this point, my TP was a bit of a waste anyway. And then here I'm just going to be trying to push out the waves, I think. Or maybe not. Maybe I'm going to buy a second point booster because I'm an idiot. So this one was optimistic, but it actually wound up paying off where it did bounce between the two of them. In this case, PL was able to finish him off, but the burst damage that we did, he would have died to the Maledict anyway. And at this point, we have them on the run. So what I'm definitely looking for here is another opportunity to coconut and drop the Death Ward. I kind of walked into that stun. I was a little upset with myself with that, but not a major loss. I mean, he's gonna wind up killed. I need to be careful about these anti-mage illusions. I definitely don't mind using the coconut on them. Because every time they hit me, they wind up taking away some of my mana. So that's going to prevent me from using my Death Ward as well as possibly set me up for a Mana Void. So in that case, even the illusions will take away your mana. So at that point, I want to prioritize them not hitting me. So again, it seems a little silly to use an ability on an illusion, but in this case, you actually want to get away with that.
Radiant's courier is gone. At last, peace may return to these lands. Radiant's bottom tower is being attacked.
So I think for whatever reason we thought that the anti-mage was still here. I mean, obviously he isn't. He's down in this bottom lane, but I don't know. I guess they thought he didn't have a Town Portal Scroll or something like that. There was a Death Prophet sort of in range of attacking me, but I also knew that if she did try anything, I could always move back. She doesn't have any kind of a stun, and I had backup. So there's a regen rune there. I think I was saving that for Clinks. I can't remember why I didn't take it. I definitely didn't need it myself, so I try not to take those things. And at this point, I've realized I've lost my point booster. So here you're going to see me walking around the woods trying to find it. And I'm like, oh god, am I going to have to buy a new one? Oh, nope, there it is. Okay, I'm happy now. Then I drop it again to get my mana. And I think at that point I wind up buying my Blade of Alacrity, and I get my Aghanim Scepter. So what Aghanim Scepter does is it adds bounces. So first of all, it makes the damage do a little bit more. So in this case, it adds another 30 damage. And then, in addition to that, every time one of those laser beams shoots out, it actually bounces to an enemy unit. So in addition to my cask bouncing around the enemy team, the Death Ward is now going to have projectiles that bounce off of team members as well. So it's a fantastic little combination to just create absolute havoc inside of the enemy's team. Here I knew Peasant was working on the Ancient, so at this case I think I was just waiting to be told what the next play was. I think probably they were going to go up mid was my guess. They can see me here because they've got a ward. Again, I'm sort of failing in my support duties as de-warding, but at this point I am sort of doing what I can. And here I'm totally out of position, and I almost make it out. So I use my Glimmer Cape. They can't see me. I'm walking away. Unfortunately, Glimmer Cape doesn't last a long time. They see me, I heal, but Clockwork's able to get a hook shot on me and I die. All that Lina can do is sort of watch me die. So that's the first. Keep in mind, in half an hour, even though I've gotten 8 kills, 7 assists, so I participated in 15 of the team's 34 kills, I did actually avoid dying, except for that one really stupid death. There may be more, but... So, I mean, it sucks. I shouldn't have let that happen. Definitely, because I didn't de-ward that, that's really the reason why they were ready for me. There's no excuses for it, but overall, it's I've been able to have a fairly decent impact on this game without feeding. And that's especially because, again, keeping in mind that these players almost certainly have a higher MMR than me, it is kind of important to make sure that I'm not feeding the enemy team. I'm not giving them a bigger advantage than I'm due. So, like, one of the things that is kind of important as a support is to just make sure that you're not creating more problems for your team than you're solving. Like, even if I wasn't good at landing stuns, or if I could never get a Maledict off, or I was bad at getting the heal done, me being absent is better than me being active and feeding kills. Oh, you know what? I resume. So this peasant stuff isn't as interesting, but you do get to see another Death Ward.
Fresh meat!
So here I TP in because Storm Spirit and Clinks are working on Anti-Mage. Storm Spirit's gonna wind up... I think he escapes. No, he tries to get the kill. I think he winds up dying. Again, full duration Death Ward on there. And again, it's a hard thing to deal with, right? It does a lot of damage, and I mean, I think he could have tried blinking out. I don't think he was silenced at that point. But the other big thing is it's really flashy ultimate, so it does... Like, if you have that thing popped on you, especially if you're not expecting it, you do kind of panic. It's very attention-getting kind of... kind of an ultimate.
Regeneration.
So as always, I'm kind of going to want to get my cues from Peasant, who is sort of leading the charge. I'm not, like, unless I catch somebody by surprise, I'm not really able to get any kills on my own. So we are going to make an effort to try and do some kills. In this case, I think he got caught. I throw my cask here and try to get the Maledict. I'm definitely doing my best not to feed. Peasant is okay because he has an ability that allows him to jump away. The enemy team has to go out and around, and they're not able to successfully catch him. So it's possible that a situation like that with another carry, I'd be leaving them to their death. I don't necessarily think there would be a way that I could save him anyway. But in that case, you know, throwing my stun into a collection of heroes and then making sure that I stay well out of the range of their abilities is slightly more valuable than me saying it's like, okay, maybe I can do something and feeding them 2 kills instead of 1. Yes, I do realize I sound like a coward saying that, but I also know that Peasant is actually quite good at escaping situations as Phantom Lancer, so it allows me to be a little bit more a little bit more liberal.
Radiant's bottom tower under fire.
Again, here we're just throwing the coconut so we can disable the enemy creeps as much as we can, get them to hit things. The Death Prophet's definitely here to try and save the tower, but between the two of us, we can actually do a lot of damage. So Peasant just decides to run in, and I do the best that I can to help him out.
Radiant's bottom tower under fire.
In this case, I use the mech just to give him a little bit of extra health. We throw the coconut again. The more we can keep these things pushed back here, we can go back to the tower. The enemy team's fully routed. They know there's a Death Ward ready for them. So if they actually try to move up aggressively, we do wind up doing some significant damage to them.
Dire have fortified their towers.
And at this point, we're ready to start doing high ground. Everybody's sort of got together except Clinks, but we already have written Clinks off as far as a contributor. So I stay back. I think this might be the point where I wind up feeding the Death Ward to Rubik. Notice that Anti-Mage is trying to do split push up here. This is not going to work. All that he's really doing is sort of equipping us to be able to rip apart his own team. We also all have TP, so if we want, we can go and do some more damage. But what we really want to try and do is claim these barracks before we move back. So in this case, Anti-Mage blinks, so he comes in first. I throw the coconut, I drop the ward, and you can see that Rubik stole it. And in this case, Peasant is able to get away. So this is definitely a mistake on my part. I wound up giving Rubik the Death Ward. I didn't accomplish a lot with it. They were able to see me, and it just got cancelled, and I just wound up dying. So that's now 2 deaths for me out of a total of 16 assists. Or, well, 16 kills involved in. Which, again, is not a bad stat by any stretch of the imagination. Again, Storm Spirit has not lost, or has not learned from his mistakes. Fortunately, Anti-Mage used his Mana Void on me. But in this case, he's just wasting all of his mana to get to the fight, and he doesn't have anything left over. So in this case, you know, Peasant does what he can. He's out of mana, so at this point he's sort of lost his effectiveness. He's very tanky at this point. He's got a Heart of the Tarrasque, so he's got 3,000 health, and he also has some items which make him a little bit more evasive. He's got a high armor. So at this point, we're basically ready to fight. We did claim 1 barracks, and then at this point, we're just sort of trying to find the next opening to be able to clean them out. Now, even at a point like this, it is still possible for an enemy team to come back. There hasn't been any real indication that they've been able to get their act together. I mean, the fact that we lost that fight on the high ground is evidence that we're not unbeatable. But certainly everything that you've seen in the match can sort of indicate that they're not as coordinated as we are. Or at the very least, if they're, you know, I think they wound up being another party of 3 and then 2 strangers. So at the very least, we were able to sort of deal with the +2 better than they were. I just lost a follower. Oh, Sleepbringer, thank you very much for the post. So here Anti-Mage has learned from the Death Ward problem, but unfortunately, not enough. This one was a lot tougher. Like, if I didn't go invisible, he would definitely be able to do a lot of damage to me, and
Kill. Make that 2.
he'd do a lot of damage to me, and it would wind up, in the end, it would wind up doing, like, he'd be able to kill me before the end of the duration of that Death Ward. So at this point, the Glimmer Cape is is sort of the insurance policy against that eventuality. Here we lost Storm Spirit. I think he said he was going to take like a trip to the airport, so we weren't sure if he was going to be coming back or not. But hey, Blood Gallade, Sleepbringer, thank you very much. For those of you not familiar with him, I know I've lost. I was going to say not only have I lost a few follower today, but I saw the number of viewers absolutely plummet. I just decided to do another Dota commentary because I have a game where I was playing against, at least by MMR, higher ranked players. Not entirely sure it's the most successful thing I've ever done. But for those of you who don't know Sleepbringer, he is a fellow member of Team Panda. If you've not clicked it already, please go at the top and click the Team Panda button. And what were you streaming tonight, Sleepbringer? I know I always introduce you as the fighting game guy, but and it's been so long since you've played Borderlands. I'm not quite sure. What were you up to? Yes, Epine.
Barracks has fallen.
This is a coconut bouncing in between here. This is because Rubik stole spells from me. I'm okay with him. I mean, he's gonna steal something, right? I'm okay with him stealing Paralyzing Cask over stealing Death Ward. I get caught by Pudge, so I'm gonna wind up dying here. The key here is to see how long that I can survive, because the time that I spend wasting here is time they're not pursuing my enemies. So in this case, I pop my Guardian Greens, I turn on my Healing Ward, and nobody's in a position to get caught again. Ideally, I would have popped my Glimmer Cape and I would have gone into the woods. But unfortunately, as it turns out, that's where Anti-Mage was going. So there's no way that I could have gotten out of that situation. I believe that is my last death for the game, or maybe I have one more. Hey, Luigi's Mansion. That's a fantastic one. I haven't personally played it, but I know it looks like a really fun game. One thing that we did miss with that encounter was we did make enough space for Peasant to be able to take the second lane of Rack. So this is more or less a game. I mean, if it wasn't obvious enough that we're winning the game, at this point, it's very hard for the enemy team to come back because they're going to have 2 lanes of Racks pushing in. We've set up wards in their base so we can see exactly where everybody is at this point. So what we could do is we could either decide to push down this final lane and get Mega Creeps. We could decide to just run in and take the tier 4s. In this case, we actually decide to go for Roshan. Which is not a bad call, because this basically gives Peasant a second life.
But there are actually things in this world other than Dota.
So normally what you'll see in a game like this is Roshan will be taken a lot earlier than 41 minutes, but in this case it's effectively free, and we're sort of waiting for me to come back up and get everybody into position. So I am back, and I think we're getting ready for our final push. I'm not entirely sure when that happens, but... So Clinks is able to see everybody here. I hope he doesn't decide to go crazy and attack them, but you never know. Will I be doing anything else tonight? Well, actually, so before the hosting, I was going to check to see if anybody was inside, and I was going to check to see if anybody was still active. I was definitely going to do something else. I'm not quite sure what yet, but I'm definitely happy to do another activity after this. It won't be all Dota for sure. I was kind of hoping to do this for Akadak because he was at TI4 or TI5, but but yeah, I definitely appreciate Dota's not for everybody, so I definitely make sure that I want to do something as well. Do you stream on your laptop, by the way? We're just curious what specs I'm running to play Dota. So I have I believe it's a previous generation MacBook Pro. It's got an i7 inside it. I think it's a 2.3 gigahertz processor. There's a NVIDIA, it's like the 750M or whatever it's called. And as much RAM as I could possibly get in it. It's like 32 megabytes or something like, or 32 gigabytes. So this is one ult I'm really happy with. Again, I'm not going to be able to get it done the whole way. I do wind up dying here, by the way. Hiding behind this tree is fantastic because people never know to look for you here. So I did manage to get some time. I did manage to get some time with that ult and do damage. In this case, the anti-mage... Did he buy back or did he survive? In any case, it would be best if I didn't die. As it is, they're able to do some more damage to the base. Peasant's not too worried about this because he still has the Aegis. Oh, no, he lost his Aegis. And lucky. So actually, we got our asses kicked that time.
Whole lot of murder going on here.
Fair enough.
Radiant's middle tower is being attacked. Radiant's middle tower has fallen.
This game is done relatively soon, by the way, guys. So if you're bearing with me for the Dota stuff, it'll be over in a bit. Let's follow Storm Spirit while we're waiting. So again, uses all of his mana to clear a creep wave. This is not the way you play Storm Spirit when there's an anti-mage. Also, so Bloodstone's usually good for recharging mana, but with 4 charges, it's not actually regenerating that much mana. You start with 8, and you lose charges when you die, and you gain them when you kill. So this is a little bit of an impact, or indicator of the impact that he's had during his game. Generally, when you're a mid player, you don't want to have a 9-8-8 score.
Radiant's top barracks are under attack.
All right, I'm back. So now you can see me wander aimlessly on the map while we try and figure out what we're doing. Anti-Mage just picked up a Butterfly, which makes him really hard. In this case, it's going to be very difficult for me to hit him with my right clicks, but again, I've never been able to do damage to him that way anyway, so dropping the Death Ward is kind of the biggest contribution I can have in terms of fights. I also got myself a Force Staff, so the nice thing about this one is if I get caught out of position, I can tap this Force Staff and move out of the way. As it turns out, I didn't wind up needing it, but that was the intention at least. And as always, you'll notice sometimes I do weird things like move into the trees. It's mostly because I assume that at the higher MMRs, people are not just going to let me farm creep waves in peace. So I never know if when a creep wave is coming up near the river, whether or not there's actually going to be somebody there to wind up killing me. So in this case, will spend at least a little bit of time in the trees to see whether or not somebody shows on the map. Again, they're all kind of hanging around their base, desperately trying to defend it. But in this case, I do want to make sure that I'm not a completely open target. But it looks like everybody's getting together to do a final push, so I start walking up mid, and we do our best to end the game. Akadak, how's it going? I hope you didn't stay up for this, because it's actually turned out... this is the first time I've tried Hero Chase. I don't think it's as exciting as it should be. So I've tried to zoom out as much as I can here. So the advantage here is that we have all the initiative. Like, we're basically just doing what we can to smash these towers. I need to remember that my Glimmer Cape is not going to be able to do anything in the face of these towers. They do have True Sight. But we basically want to take out this tier 4 and end the game. So Anti-Mage is doing his best to hold. This is a bit of a mistake for him to throw up the illusions. The reason for that is I can actually throw a coconut and it's going to give me 3 perfect targets to bounce off of each other for. In this case, I just kind of threw out a cheeky ultimate. Not necessarily because I thought I was going to kill him, but mostly because I wanted to see if I could get it off before the base broke.
Ah, lovely.
So, that was the Witch Doctor game. Yes. I lost 1 follower for this stream. Not because of you, Ak, but for you, Ak. That is the...
I thank you.
That is the effort that I'll put into this. So, does anybody have any questions about how that match goes, or Witch Doctor, or Dota in general? Definitely be lurking if not chatting. Well, I will warn you, Akadak, I'm actually moving out of Dota now. But I thought I was just going to try. I wanted to get a little bit of that content out of the way, because I did know I was going to go back to Dota, and it was an example of me playing in a high skill game when I think I'm normal skill, at least if Dota buff is to be believed. So it seemed to be a fairly good example of how to have some impact as a support while not feeding the enemy team. All right, have a great night, Sleepbringer. Thank you very much for the host. I know it probably wasn't exactly your thing, so I appreciate you hanging out as long as you did. Yeah, 1 follower, anything but that. I'm kind of curious who it is. I'm going to take a peek. All right, so I'm gonna get. I think I had a little bit of self-indulgence for myself with a Dota 2 stream. So I was thinking of doing some FTL for you guys. But I'd like to give you guys the option. What do you guys... Oh, you like my analysis of things? You only caught the... Okay, well, tell you what, guys. We're going to go back to every single time I use my ultimate. So I can see it. Sleepbringer likes Dota, just doesn't like playing Dota. Hey, we just had a big international tournament on. So yeah, how do you guys feel about FTL? Or is there something else you'd like to see me play? Sleepbringer's a lol boy. Ak is pretty neutral on Dota despite being at TI 5. Forgive me if I don't believe you. Just trying to show you the stuff that I have installed. So I know Kerbal is popular amongst people on the stream. I think there's a couple. I started doing some tutorials, so I'd kind of like to hold off on Kerbal before I go any further with that. FTL? Oh, Ack. Well, then you just missed the perfect stream for you. No. All right. FTL it is. I can't promise I'm going to do a lot of it. It is actually fairly late, but I do kind of want to make up for the fact that I wasn't here on time. And it looks like I can't load up my followers list, so I'll find out who left, who abandoned ship in the face of Dota. I haven't even started Lone Survivor Sleepbringer. Oh my god. Sorry guys, I can't see chat. FTL, please. Maybe I'll just have to change resolution. The worst thing about your team winning your game is the fact that Storm probably thinks he did amazing because he was able to end with the essentially requisite items. Yeah, well, I mean, 4 Bloodstone charges is definitely not something to be proud of as a Storm, but... I have a feeling if I do... Oh, maybe native. I'll just run it in windowed mode if I have to, but ideally I could see chat. Oh, I hate it when developers... So, just to give you guys an idea of what I'm expecting... I mean, I'm sure you guys think I'm absolutely crazy based off of these constant resets. So what happens when I go to full screen mode is my monitor to my right, the one that I read chat on, it goes black. Even though it's a second monitor that doesn't have the game, it will black out that monitor because apparently no gamer in the world likes to have more than one thing, active on their window at a time. So I wonder if I can just straight up stretch this. Nope. All right. Well, because we need to deal with a windowed mode. Where is desktop? Let's at least put something appropriate on. There we go. Space. Let's see if I can hide. Good enough. Sorry, guys. But yeah, Akadak, I agree completely. Like, the guy played the same way the entire game. He didn't contribute anything. It's one of the reasons I wanted to show that one. I know I'm kind of crapping on the guy, but I mean, he was somebody with a higher MMR than me, if my statistics don't completely fail me. So, it's just an indication that you can play support effectively without, being an idiot and without feeding a whole lot. Chalk, I stopped the problem by using DVI on one monitor and HDMI on the other. Well, keep in mind that I'm using a laptop, so I have a built-in monitor on one and then DVI on the other one. But maybe I'll try HDMI if I can get a cheap cable. Don't know why that fixes. It just makes the other monitor look like... Well, I don't mind a little bit of lag on chat. I mean, it's not like I instantly respond to you guys anyway. But we'll just... I mean, I hope you guys are okay with this. I know it's not beautiful. I'll just switch the title, so... Yeah, exactly, Yak. So, I have played this game before. I have beaten the flagship on easy. It's not apparent on this computer because I did that on my PC. But I have yet to get my victory on the Kestrel normal mode. I have a feeling that that's not going to happen this time either. It's been a really long time since I played this game. But I wanted to give you guys something other than Dota, and I was hoping to do something a little bit new. frees up the other HDMI for any consoles. Yeah, if I owned any consoles, other than my Wii. So who wants to be on this ship? I have one lady and I've got 2 boys. I guess I can change it to a boy as well, but... CPO would like to be on the crew, okay? Sleepbringer hasn't ever finished a normal run. Congratulations, Sleepbringer. This will be the run that you also die on. Oh, cool. I didn't know you can change... I was going to change the positions for people as well, but... You're all abbreviated. Bring up chat on mobile. That's what you do when you stream. Yeah, I used to do that as well, CPO. My desk space is definitely getting a little bit more cluttered, so... If it gets a bit... Yeah, so guys, I will ask, like, is it too annoying that you're seeing the windowed mode? I don't mind bringing up chat on my tablet if I do. I just know you guys kind of endured about an hour and a half of Dota 2 stuff, so I was hoping to jump into 50L right away. But if it's distracting, I can definitely go back to full mode. Don't let you down. Sleepbringer, I'm lucky if I'm going to get past the first zone this time around. Well, I'm just looking for any confirmation as to whether or not I should try for full mode and then and go on to chat. What I will say for you guys is I'll give you an idea of what FTL is for those who are uninitiated. So FTL is an example of a genre known as roguelike. Roguelike comes from the original game Rogue. And it was sort of defined through being this game where you would only have one life. You would... you'd basically spend the game sort of building up your levels and, well, it's kind of like Dota, your levels and your items to be able to face a big boss at the end, the dragon. So this is sort of a space version of that, which is you're going to be going through these different systems, trying to make your ship strong enough for the big final fight at the end. You only get one life, so if you fail, you have to start over again. Roguelikes are generally considered to be very difficult. They require a little bit of luck, but generally quite a bit of skill and planning to pull off. And that's what makes FTL so enjoyable. I think FTL in particular does a good job of sort of having this balance between making the game challenging, but not making it so driven by random events that you don't feel like you don't feel like it was impossible for you to win that particular round. So windowed's fine with Sleepbringer. Windowed has never really bothered you. OBS should let you edit specific scene and stretch the image to your liking without actually affecting how it's set on the desktop. It is available for Macs, but I actually found out that is the reason why I was getting these really crappy frame rates. So that's the only reason I'm avoiding using that right now. Although FTL is a little bit more forgiving in that regard. Sorry guys, I'm just going to get rid of my calendar so that isn't bouncing. This is my school schedule. That's what when you do 3DS GBA stuff on your stream, the window. Yeah, exactly. It's definitely an option, but I mean the multi-platform version of OBS definitely has a lot of work that needs to get done. So, anyways, so the plot of this game. Well, I'll tell you the plot of this game just by reading it. The data you carry is vital to the remaining Federation fleet. You'll need supplies for this journey, so be sure to explore each sector before moving onto the next. But get to the... Oh, you know what? It usually tells you the story of this thing. So, like, the idea is you're carrying the secret rebel plans for a powerful ship that will destroy the Federation. So in this case, the rebels are the bad guys. It's the opposite of Star Wars. And your job is to survive in the small little ship, upgrade it, and eventually you have to fight the super weapon. You like the part where you go to Econ? Space, the final frontier. Hey, Wedgie. I guess Clara must be done then. How are you doing tonight? So, let's see where everyone is. CPO, well, congratulations. You are the captain. My good man, Akadak, is on the guns, and Sleepbringer is my chief engineer. Are all of you okay with the work? Whoa, 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 whoa. You can't just go to the sensors like that. Is everybody okay with their work distribution? Does anybody want a particular role? She's still knocking balls around with cars. Wonderful. Thank you very much, Sir Wedgie. I lost a follower today because of my Dota 2 content. I was so sad. So you have cheered me up, and Sleepbringer has cheered me up with his host. I'm not actually torn up about that. I just think it's very funny. It's very funny to watch the reactions to what you do. So, Boop CPO William Sleepbringer Akadak and sister. Aw, you're very kind, Sir Wedgie. By the way, I hope all of you know, I know a lot of you do know, but Sir Wedgie occasionally streams. And I think if we are nice enough to him and we ask him very nicely, maybe he will stream again. Sleepbringer wants to work the cameras? I need you on engine, Sleepbringer. So, here's the thing that's really nice about FTL. There are people who will do... There are people who will do like no pause runs and things like that, but there's no reason not to do it. You can treat it like a turn-based strategy game. You can treat it kind of like Crusader Kings 2, where everything runs at its normal pace. And one thing that I love about the Kestrel is it faces you with a resource constraint at the very beginning. You could choose to load up the Artemis missiles right away, or you could choose... Whoa, 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 don't fire those. Or you could use it to power up your engines. Wednesday if the boss lady is off? Well, I know where I'm going to be, Wedgie. Hey, yep, that's good to see you again. What job did CPO? You're at the helm. Nice job. I'm assuming... I don't know if that's a Dead Poet Society reference, Akadak, or if that's a... or if that's just the actual poem. That's Whitman, right? Hey, you look fuzzy nuts. FTL makes me angry too. Roguelikes in general make me angry. It's why I keep playing them. By the way, guys, you'll notice my voice is getting a little bit rough. I definitely have been abusing it, especially during the TI party, so I'm going to do my best, but sorry if I'm a little gravelly. I would grab some water, but let's move on to our fiery death. But yeah, the one thing that I like about it is at the very beginning, it sort of teaches you how to think about this game because it gives you a resource constraint. You can choose to power up your Artemis missiles, or you can choose to use your burst lasers. Now, personally, I like to use the burst laser because, again, missiles are a precious resource. And generally, I prefer to have a better dodge than not. If I take it away, so I've got dodge 5 FTL 1. If I raise it, I've got dodge 10 and an FTL of 1.25. So I double my possibility of dodging. And then, of course, it's manned, so I get that extra evasion as well. And to me, that seems a little bit more important than being able to fire missiles. So in this case, the decision's made for me. And by the way, just listen to that. Isn't that a wonderful soundtrack? Farthest thing from a scholar, although you were able to paraphrase a Shakespearean line with the Hunter Wild last week, or a week or so ago. Cool. What Shakespearean line? In this case, we have a very obvious destination. Classiest tweeting you've ever done. Well done, sir. A wonderful thing too, so if you go into the folder for this game, you get the soundtrack, I believe. Or at least I got the soundtrack. Maybe you have to pay extra for it. But Ben Prunty actually has a note in the soundtrack folder. And he talks about how this theme, like the one that you're hearing right now, it was actually something that he made much earlier on in his career. And he knew that he had something really special, and FTL was finally a chance that he got to use that theme. So, and it's beautiful. I really love it. So I think it was spot on. He's such a good choice for this game. Man, everybody's come out. Now that the Dota's gone, all the good people are here. I'm going to have to remember that. You arrive to find a number of ships convening around a station. There is some unencrypted chatter between the ships. You tune in and listen for anything interesting. Overhearing their conversations, it seems that they need to take possession of an enemy ship intact. So I could offer my services or leave them alone. Now, the fact of the matter is I'm not able to take a ship on its own. So in this case, I'm just going to leave them alone. If they wanted your help, they'd surely ask for it. You prepare to leave. Continue. So, you know, if I had a boarding party, I'd maybe consider it, but I don't. So I'm just setting myself up for failure. There's a couple decisions that I can make at this point. I can consider the store, but what I need to look at is what does my journey look like after that, because the rebel fleet is going to be moving in. So I've got 3 choices, one here, and while we're talking about American poets, Dota 2 kills its own chat. It's no surprise why it was on risk. Yeah. Ah, Kakadak, you bit your thumb at him. Well done. Debating on another salmon pita? Ewok fuzzy nuts with the hard-hitting questions. Yeah. I had an okay. Oh my god. Super secret panda chat going on here. So, one thing that you can do, this is the one thing I really like about FTL, is that it's a game that forces you to think. So, we want to get to the exit, but we don't want to get there as fast as possible. So if I take this upper road, I go 1, 2, 3, and I'm basically done. I can try and head back out through these, but at this point the rebel fleet's going to be fairly close. Another possible route would be to go here, so I've got this connection, but the key here is I don't have any way of getting back to the... I don't have any way of actually getting to the exit. So this is just generally a really frustrating layout to work with. What might work is I can move here. I'm going to waste fuel on the store for sure. I can probably head back here unless the fleet seems to be getting really close. And what this does is it gives me a few options. I can basically always get to this zone. I get a fair amount of distance covered here. Actually, this is tricky as well, because I need to make sure that I'm heading back to these. It might actually be better if I just go straight up and tool around here. Yeah, so I think so I know I'm going to waste fuel if I just go to the store. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the right, unless there's a direct connection. No, I'm going to go down, up, around, and just see how many of these I can get to, because basically every single one of these is linked to this sector right here, which gives me a 1 sector jump to the exit. If I go down here, what's going to happen is I'm going to have to retrace my steps at this point, and this is only a quarter of the way through the map, so I'm almost certainly going to get caught by the rebel fleet. First time you played this game, you didn't know you had to kill the boss at the end, and so you just messed around in the last region, though you probably couldn't kill him. Yeah, I've never successfully killed the boss in this case. Unless it's on easy mode. You arrive at the beacon ship to find yourself dangerously close to a star. An automated rebel ship, impervious to the heat, moves in to engage. Intruders? Oh, it's because it mind-controlled one of my guys. Akadak, you are betraying your crew. I disapprove. So first thing I want to do here is take out the weapon system as early as I can. I don't think the burst laser is going to be online, especially because I've lost my gunner. But hopefully before it breaks, we get at least 1 free unit. No, we do get hit. But fortunately, Sleepbringer piloted us to where we needed to go. So Ak now needs to correct his mistakes. And in this case, I'm going to continue focusing on the weapon system, just because as long as we can suppress that, it's not going to do damage to us. We are going to get burned by the solar flare. Let me just see if I get any hull damage for that. So yes, I do wind up getting a bit of hull damage, but this is a fairly easy fix. We just get rid of oxygen in those rooms. CPO, you got to get out of here for a bit. This is kind of an inauspicious start, if I'm completely honest, but what we're going to do here, we're still going to target the weapon system, or actually, in this case, I'm going to target the mind control because this is now at red. But in this case here, I want to take out anything that can damage my ship as early as possible. Now, right now, I can't leave because my engine room is on fire. And actually now it's disabled. So I'm just going to quickly retool what I can. The idea here, so I've closed off all of these rooms. So in this case, this is still going to remain without oxygen, but all of these rooms I've opened up basically just so the oxygen can start flowing again. And that's going to give me access to those rooms a little bit quicker. And what I want to do right now is I'm going to send CPO to the to the controls to get those working as fast as possible. And I'm not in combat, so I'm going to get ACT to go and repair the shields, mostly because that's my priority now. And I'm not on fire, so I'm just going to try and get that oxygen back as soon as I can. I'm probably going to get hit by fire again before this is done, unfortunately. All right. So again, we just deal with the situation we find ourselves in. So I'm going to lock off these parts of the ship. Hold your breath, sleep for. Just kidding. And again, here, this is very simple physics. You're just removing, removing the oxygen from the ship so that the fire can't breathe. Some might call it rocket surgery. Actually, that's a faster way to do this. So this is just opening up all the rooms in the ship. And we got to get out of here as soon as we can. So again, in this case, I'm going to be going up and around and just seeing how many of these sectors. And the idea here is I just want to be getting as much scrap and fuel as I can in a sector without going crazy. Where's Captain NA? Yep. You detect the rebel scout on an attack approach with a small refueling outpost. Their weapons are charged, but they're not firing yet. Intervene to defend the outpost. The rebel responds to your threat. I don't know who you are, but no one defies the rebel fleet. They move in to engage. So again, we pause and we think about what we're dealing with. So this is a beam weapon. This will be harmless if my shields are up, and it will wreck my day if the shields are down. So priority number one, again, we take out, not the engines. We take out the weapon system. In this case, I'm just going to turn on auto fire because there's no reason for me not to just keep pounding down on that. I believe this can only do one hit, so as long as these are out of sync, I'm good. It's if this thing does multiple hits that I'm in trouble. Yeah, the music is fantastic. Sleepbringer, I do not have the Guns of Icarus. Is it a recommendation? Nope. See, that's what we were hoping not to have happen. Fortunately, we got a good hit on the weapon system, so we're going to take those straight down to red because I really can't afford to have that thing go back up. That thing will be merciless to your hull. But now we're going to focus on taking out something like engines so it's a little bit easier to hit. I might... Actually, let's do shields instead. So we'll go back onto weapons because there are definitely going to be people doing repairs. You can see that right now. They've already blown their beam weapon though, so I get a little bit of tempo to take out their weapon system. And again, exactly what we needed. So here we're going to go back to shields. Basically because that grants us more or less a free hit. Not always, but most of the time. And then I think here we got to take weapons again rather than take the chance. As long as we can get them dividing their attention between two vital systems, I'm sort of okay giving up the giving them back their shields. My burst laser's enough to get through the shields. Pound the weapons. Oh, you guys and your creegasms. So system, it reads that you're playing gaming talk shows. Really? I thought I updated that. Thanks for letting me know, Wedgie. Oh, it says error updating the broadcast. All right. Outpost hails you. The pompous bastards expected free service just because they defeated the Federation. Take this for your help. 2 fuel and 18 scrap. So we're sitting on a fairly healthy amount of scrap. I appreciate you letting me know that, Wedgie. Guys, I'm going to keep the game up. I'm going to keep talking, but I am going to reset my dashboard just so I can try and update the game. I'll try one more time here. So this just means I'm probably going to drop a couple of frames and I'm not going to be able to read chat for the next little bit. So if you have any deep confessions of love, please refrain until I'm able to read them again. I'll let you know when I can read chat again. Actually, I'm going to take this quick second to grab myself a glass of water. I'm not going to mute the mic or anything, so you're going to be able to hear me. That's right, tap water. Okay, failed to load video. Don't care about that. FTL. I have a feeling I'm not going to be able to update the broadcast. Actually, it says I'm offline, which is creative. Still can't read chat, but I am going to go into the next sector. So apologies for those who have any messages. If it goes too long, I'll probably just I'll probably just load up my my iPad. You arrive near a damaged and dilapidated space station. It appears to have been abandoned, but you detect faint life signatures on board. There's probably gonna be spiders, but it'd be cool if I could get another if I could get another crew member. Human corpses are scattered around the station. You find the source of a signal, the lone survivor that locked themselves in a storage closet. You quickly retreat with them in tow back to the ship and hope they can recover enough to be of some use. So we found Davion and 10 scrap. Davion will be our shield man. And again, chat is not coming back. That is a shame. Just going to take a quick look here to see what it'll take to get shields. So to get another level of shields, I'm going to need to buy both levels for the shields, but I'm also going to need to buy power. So it'll cost me 50 to get another shield barrier, and then I believe it'll cost another, assuming it's the same, it'll cost 40 for the power. So in this case, I need 90, so I just need another, I need another 19 scrap. Now, there is definitely a benefit to preserving the option. So in this case, I'm not going to just go halfway on the shields. This beacon has been built for a nearby civilian space station. No one hails your ship. So that's kind of just a wasted move, really. I don't have any option but to go to the exit, although I do get the option as to whether or not I jump through it, so I'm not going to use that yet. Alright, chat is taken forever, so I'm just going to do one more refresh, probably some drop frames again. You've arranged at the long-range beacon. When the FTL drive is charged, you can jump to the next sector. A ship with conspicuous pirate markings is orbiting nearby is orbiting a nearby moon, broadcasting a simple message claiming to have equipment available for sale. You could hail the ship, attack them before he can attack, or quickly prepare the jump away. Attack! So, this is a mildly tough ship, it looks like. So let's do our best. Let's see what we can do with this, see what we can do with taking out the weapons. Again, we want to be careful about the beams. This is a little bit harder because they are going to be able to take down more than one... They are going to be able to take down more than one shield. Fortunately, though, we managed to completely wipe out their weapons. So the next thing we're going to do is take shields, and then we're going to take drones. Again, I don't particularly like the amount of damage that I've taken just in the first sector, but we should be able to get through it. So now we'll move to the drone just to take that off the table. I'm okay with just having one weapon come back up. I need to make sure that the drone is down, though, if I allow that. Okay, so we've disabled the drone, and now we're going to go back to the weapons. Okay, kind of a half measure, but I'll live with it. That's bad, though. There's probably a lot of crew on that ship, then. So at this point, I just kind of need to wait it out. I am keeping my crew members in their stations just so they can improve their skills. But I will need to repair the medical bay in a second. Good work on those dodges, by the way. The ship explodes, leaving behind a substantial collection of useful scrap materials. So we've got 18 scrap, still one away from what we need on our for our shields. We've got fuel, which is always good, and one missile. I generally trade away the missiles. So I'll get Davy on repairing the medbay. And I'm going to grab my iPad because it seems like I'm not going to be getting chat back for a while. Just taking a minute to load up the chat, guys. And the tablet seems to be taking its time to load. So, tell you what, if you have something important to say, please tweet it to me until Twitch decides to start giving me my chat again. Oh, here we go. So, Sherilini, I see your message saying bye, Akadak. Thank you for stopping by the way. I don't think I've seen you here before. And have a very good sleep, Akadak. I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to see your messages earlier than that. So, anybody who said anything before Cheryl's bye, Akadak, I didn't get to read it, but I am able to read chat now on my tablet. Not quite sure what's going on with my chat, but this is a nice half measure. So again, like we said, I kind of want to get the most out of this sector. As long as I am one jump away from the exit, I'm okay. So I think the plan here will be to go to this here, see if I can get away, maybe visiting this one. But I kind of want to preserve my options. I'll just sort of see what everything looks like. An especially well-armed pirate ship approaches you. Hand over one of your crew members and the rest can go free unharmed. We could draw straws and send a crew member over to the slavers, or we will never surrender one of our crew to slavers. So this is another nice thing that I kind of forgot to mention about the game. In the earlier... I always remember... I seem to remember that when I started playing this game, there was always a story about why you had the plans for the super weapon and why you were going through all these sectors. But the other nice thing about this one is they have these neat little scenarios. Now, I mean, the thing about roguelike games are you play them over and over again and you kind of get to know what all the responses do. But the flavor behind this is kind of nice. And in this case, we will never surrender our crew to... Sorry. We will never surrender our crew. One of our crew to slavers. I'm sure that would have been much more dramatic if I delivered that properly. So, as always, in case you haven't noticed, I like thinking about what I'm doing in games. So, this one I might even justify using the Artemis. The problem is I think it's going to take so long to load up and they still just have one shields. They're more or less getting a free hit with these weapons. I lost chat again. Come on, guys. There we go. So did you do CPO Williams? You get that Brita that goes on the faucet and you pour that into a Britain gallon pitcher? Are you guys that worried about your water quality? Ewok Fuzzy Nuts, I know that quote. That's Galaxy Quest. Alright, so my plan here is they're basically going to get free hits with these weapons on the first round. The best thing I can do is just try and take the weapons out. And then following that, I'll worry about shields and then probably oxygen because oxygen sort of forces them to repair that. All right, so we got lucky with that. Again, I'll keep going with the one thing I really want to avoid is the flat cannon, so I'll continue targeting the shields.